everybody? I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just wanted to issue major spoiler alert. We are going to be going over everything that happened in episode 3 of The Skeleton Crew. So if you haven't watched that episode yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to Disneyplus, check out that episode, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show.
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, journey with me to break down everything from episode 3 of The Skeleton Crew. It's Jon Jon Rico.
Hi, Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
We're back.
We are so back.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I was messing around with our private chat during the intro and throwing Rico off. Anyway, Skeleton Crew.
Yeah.
Getting right into it, I just have to say, look, I know Wim is kind of like, you know, the Luke Skywalker character of this series, and it's kind of like we're getting everything more so from his perspective, at least, you know, from the early episodes. But Fern is quickly becoming one of my favorite characters. The fact that she has the exact same level of skepticism of Crimson Jack that I had at the end of episode 2 just made me just instantly like, I'm like, oh, she's gonna be one of my favorite characters type of thing, because she points out literally all of the things that I was pointing out. Like,
yeah, she kind of brings Wim back to earth a couple of times when he's kind of like being fanatical about the way he's approaching Jude Law's character, which is really funny.
Exactly. And not only that, boom, big reveal right out the gate. We finally find out towards the end of this episode that he is absolutely not a Jedi. Like, he admits it, type of thing. So
I love that they didn't like kind of toy with us at that too. Like, they made it pretty clear that he's hiding something even from like the very get go. So it's just like, okay, let's watch how he tries to juggle this act that is clearly going to go wrong at some point. But yeah, watch all these little, like, the early little obstacles he's already trying to overcome with this lie is already a good time.
Right, exactly. And I mean, it's cool that we can do that kind of thing because we aren't dealing with, you know, characters the age of Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, where they should have some, you know, reference of people lying and people trying to pull fast ones. We have an impressionable group of children. Like, you know what I mean? So like we can have that, like, where it's like, this is pretty
very
obvious.
Children too.
Yeah, exactly. Even more so that as we're finding out this other, you know, kind of mystery of the series so far. But also on top of that, it's like, you know, like we can see it. We're like, you know what? This doesn't sound right. But we have Wim going, no, he's a Jedi. Like, absolutely. Like,
yeah.
But you can get away with that when you understand like the age level of these kids. You kind of
wants to believe.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of an easier way to kind of, you know, fake things and kind of do that. But I just thought, like, these kind of details and this kind of skepticism that we had from Fern, I was like, oh, she's gonna be a standout character, and I appreciate, you know, everything that she was saying to Wim throughout this episode. But Rico, what were some of your instant reactions for episode 3?
Yeah, dude, this show is just so much fun to me. Like, to me it has all like the nostalgia feel of Star Wars, but also feels very fresh for the franchise at the same time. Especially going that whole Goonies route, you know. Yeah. And even like, you know, like, they do a good job at this pretty much with every series, but the use of the practical sets and even the practical creatures and stuff and the way they're able to kind of blend the technology is really great. I'll get a little bit more on that into a particular character later on. But another thing, again, going back to the last week's recap, is something that I thought was going to happen, literally end up happening in this episode at the very beginning, when we get kind of like our visiting with the parents who are all waiting in one spot with kind of like for the update from the safety droids. And the safety droid's like, yeah, your kids are all off the planet, and they're outside the barrier. And it's exactly what I thought from that School of Rock scene.
I've just been informed that all of your children are missing.
Just been informed that all your children are missing. And they all like start freaking out on them. Like, that's a really funny scene to me, but I think it does a great job of expanding this overall Addon story too. And it made me kind of, we learn a little more like the parents also were kind of like raised on this planet too. So this is definitely like a generational thing that's been going on for God knows how long. So yeah, they have a great job of like sprinkling the humor of the scene with these characters because they don't really have a lot to do in this particular moment of the series, but also doing a great way of just expanding the story in that same time.
Yeah, and that kind of goes, perfectly into my big takeaway. So you want to get to some big takeaways?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna kick off big takeaways. Kind of, going back to what both of us were kind of more discussing during, the first 2 episode recap that we did, where I like that we, it's not just a straightforward story. We have some mysteries. Obviously, we had the mystery surrounding like what was the mysterious Jedi / Crimson Jack now, like what was his identity, what are his motives type of thing, which is we're kind of uncovering as the kids are uncovering like that
his
part.
Real name, because I feel like we don't even know that yet.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But so we're figuring that out. But I mean, it goes back to like exactly like what both of us were talking about last recap, where there is this mystery surrounding Addon, surrounding their home world. But it's like it's not even just one mystery; it's multiple mysteries. It's a mystery of why the identity, the location of this planet has to be hidden, but also it's a mystery to the kids themselves of what is the great work, what is all of this, because they even when they're sitting around, they're like, our parents do boring stuff. They're analysts and they're all of this like. And one of them's like, but what are they analyzing? Like it's something boring. Yeah. Like, so obviously like there's multiple mysteries. And I like how they're giving us these breadcrumbs of multiple mysteries at the same time, but also telling this, linear story of, this adventure and stuff like that. So it's really cool to kind of just be kind of getting different breadcrumbs every episode and kind of having that as a running kind of thing. And we find out a little bit more about something, but then we have, like kind of the second mystery of like, what do all of these parents do? And why is everyone afraid about leaving the barrier? Why are they, told that no one can leave the barrier coming in or out or anything like, you know what I mean? Like there's just mystery on top of mystery. And it's just very interesting because like the reveal, we never know like the full reveals of everything, at least not until later in the season and stuff like that. So I really appreciate that. It's something cool. Like when you can pull it off like this, I think it makes a more engaging, series / story in general, because you can have multiple levels of this adventure. Like you're not only seeing a straightforward adventure, but you're uncovering all of these kind of clues and breadcrumbs towards these mysteries that the characters want to find out, but also you as a viewer want to find out. So it's pretty cool. But Rico, what are some of your big takeaways?
Yeah, it's a classic treasure hunt adventure that actually has some what seemingly bigger stakes behind it, which I think is really cool within the Star Wars world, which as a fan of the franchise is fun for us to watch unfold, right? Yeah. But yeah, we're introduced to a really fun character in this episode too. Her name is Kim, a really fun little owl creature, and I was like, wow, cool owl lady, I love her. And I was already digging her vibe right away when we first are introduced to her. I one of the things I really loved about the character is like much like Neil, we get this really cool blend of like a CG / practical effects character. Like in the moments where they really need to show off some really fluid movement, they'll throw in the special effects to make it look less kind of animatronic, but they still keep the animatronic look of like the movement of the overall like body of the character too, which I think is really awesome. Like I could totally see this character being put somewhere within like Galaxy's Edge and Disneyland or something like that for you to interact with, like in line for one of the rides or something like that, right? Like, I think right away she kind of fits into that kind of environment and makes the show kind of feel like a theme park ride and stuff. Like, a lot of people compare the franchise itself to theme parks. We always heard the famous Martin Scorsese quote about comic book movies and nerd movies about how they like theme parks. Well, this is definitely kind of like that feel to it. Like when you're watching, like, man, I would really like to interact with that character in real life too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we learned right before we started recording that she was voiced by Aaliyah Shawkat, who played maybe in Arrested Development too. Because I was like, who voices her? I have no idea. I know I've heard this voice, and I couldn't put my put a pin on it. But yeah, when Jude Law's character was kind of teasing like this character that he knew on this moon, given that we have like this whole kind of underworld character setting that we're dealing with, part of me was kind of hoping there would be some kind of like tie-in, like maybe we would have seen someone like I don't know, like Sid from the Bad Batch. Maybe she like would be lived all this time long, or was it V who was played by Wanda Sykes?
Yep.
Like one of those kind of characters that would have been a really cool time to learn that one of those characters was still alive in this part of the Star Wars era. But again, I like that we're always coming up with new characters and new ways to kind of bring new settings into the fold as well. And I like the whole kind of back and forth between like they don't trust each other, so the kids don't know exactly who to trust to. But then there's the great exchange between her and KB, which I think was really great too, where it's just like, yeah, this character is someone that you can trust going forward as well. So yeah, I really love the introduction of Kim, and I really hope that we get to see more of her later on the season.
Yeah, I like when she goes to where she tells KB, "What did he tell you to trust your gut? Don't trust your gut. Listen to your head."
Yeah, I was like, that's great. That was actually great advice. Yeah. Like, listen to your instincts. You're a smart kid. Don't just like don't just go with your gut tells you. You got to just think things through.
Right. Exactly.
Like, that's good stuff. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's a really cool addition, like a cool character. I'm hoping that we see more of in general. But yeah, and I mean, we had a lot of opportunities for people to pop up. Like because of you, I half expected to see Carson Teva as
I thought he was going to be the X-Wing pilot. I was like, please be Carson. I'm like, that's not Carson. Yeah, I'm waiting for him. He'll be there.
You want to get to some predictions?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, why don't you kick off predictions?
Okay, I think kind of like what we've already talked about before, the whole mystery around Adden, I think, has now become kind of like the center focus of the show for me. Especially because not only like what the kids could learn from like their home planet, but Jude Law's character's interest in it has seemingly peaked too, because it seems like where he thinks this big score that he led the pirates to, that there was nothing to in the opening scene. This seems like where he thinks it is now. Like he's on the hunt for something in particular too. Right. Especially when you saw the reaction he had to the ship itself when he first saw it. Like, I think he definitely knows more than he's leading on. Another thing we forgot to mention is the standoff scene between him and SM-33.
Yeah.
in the way like SM-33 like creep back into the room like and just like I was like, oh my gosh, like this is this great humor between these two characters right there. But yeah, I'm really excited to kind of see how that's all gonna unfold. I really wonder what Jude Law's character's actual name is, because he gives the kids a name, and I can't remember what exactly he tells them. It was a very like kind of it was a different like.
I think he tried to make up a Jedi.
Yeah, it was just like it just sounded like a made up name, just in general. Yeah. Like that's not something I'm gonna remember. Right. But then you had like his old pirate buddy calling him Captain Silva, because of course from the opening scene of the first episode. And then, of course, he gives Kim the name of Crimson Jack. So we have like all these different aliases for this character. And I think we still yet to learn like who he actually is. And I think that's going to be the fun mystery around his character overall. And as far as the kids go, I'm excited just to learn more about them. Like you said, like I like that we're getting to learn a little bit more about Fern. I think she's obviously kind of like a second lead to Wim, of course, because they both have like leadership qualities. And of course, she assumed the role of the captain. So she obviously has that leadership role in her own mind too. But the character I'm kind of more interested in learning, I always love these kind of characters, is KB. Especially because like you could tell she's got some good instincts around. Like she also does not trust Jude Law's character. Like when he's like, you don't sleep much, she goes like, you're not telling the truth. I don't trust you. and I just like the way she's totally straightforward with him. And I just think, yeah, she's got like that like aura of curiosity when it comes to like new things around her too. Almost like a Leo from the Ninja Turtles, always like the tech-based character, the Billy of the Power Rangers. It's always like the smart character who's like wherever they're at, they want to learn what's around them. So yeah, I'm excited to just kind of see more of that. And then of course, Wim and Neil just enjoying the adventure.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. As far as predictions, I'm not really sure. I mean, like I said, we have these mysteries. Obviously, I want to know more about that. I'm also very interested in kind of the parents, because we got that scene at the beginning that you've talked about, and I kind of always thought that Fern's mom was higher up on like the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at least in the first episode, it kind of seemed like she was, to the extent
Right.
of, like, I thought maybe she would know what was going on and try to suppress. And she could just be kind of faking, like, not really knowing what's going on. But it kind of seems like they're all on the same level for, like, in that scene that we got in this episode. It kind of seemed like they were all, like, not in the know. And because she's like, I'll make sure that we get a meeting with the supervisor. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's
a parent first before her job.
Right.
Yeah.
But I kind of thought maybe she was like steps ahead of all of the other parents, basically. Like, as far as like in the know a little bit more. But it kind of seems like she's not. But I'm curious, kind of going back to kind of something that you had said way earlier with, this could be a generational thing. No one knowing, what's past the barrier. No one knowing that this planet is hidden and stuff like that. So I'm very curious to kind of find out more about the planet in general, but the parents, what stories they've been told as far as why they can't leave and why no one comes in, and you know what I mean? Like, just, I'm very curious. Like, there's so many things that I'm curious about, and different perspectives of the same mystery. The kids part of it, but also the parents part of it, like different generations, kind of what their understanding is to why, their planet is kind of so isolated in general. But also, I'm really just having a really fun time of different Easter eggs and different things that can be tied, not even to Star Wars, but to other things. Like, when I saw, the kids sleeping in hammocks, I was like, is that another Peter Pan Lost Boys reference? Where they're all
anything can be a reference to
exactly
like adventure stories.
And then we had, just like you said, we had, SM33 and Jude Law's character, having that interaction is in that, and the way he kind of got really tall and then shrunk back down to like what the Smee height would be, and then kind of, like, just kind of wandered out of the room and then went back a little bit. But yeah, there's so many things. The other thing, the Easter egg that I did want to make sure that I was surprised you didn't mention, but I was waiting until the end to mention, was we got a battle droid when Jude Law's character went back.
Yeah.
I was like, all I wanted to hear him say was Roger when he
a nice practical one too, not like a CG one, which is nice.
I thought that was really cool. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to learn more about the mystery, or about the mysteries, I guess, in general. But also, I'm just having a really good time seeing Easter eggs and seeing these little tiny threads that do tie to other, Star Wars projects, I guess, in general. Whether they be, video game, whether it be comic, whether it be movie, whether it be other series, everything. I like having these little teeny tiny threads and hints of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And we still, we there was a couple of things that we actually learned in the scene with Kim when she was kind of like stalling. She was actually giving them information before, but then like at one point she does start to stall because she was planning to turn in Crimson Jack. But we learned that like Adden has ties to the Old Republic, so that's how we know that this really goes back a long time within like the Star Wars world. Mm-hmm. And then you talked about Fern's mom, played by Carrie Condon. She did give Fern that pin. The top of the class thing, and that also made Kim's kind of ears perk up, if you will. And I don't think she really gave us she really got to tell us what the significance of that was necessarily, but she did she did have like a reaction to it when she saw it, like, oh, you have that. So there is a chance that maybe that her mom does know more than she's letting on, but her parent role comes in first, and maybe she'll have to come to a crossroads later on as to whether she has to play to the role of her job or as a mom. And so that'll be probably a fun journey for her, because like I said, she's a great actress who if I'm not mistaken, she was nominated for an Oscar for the Banshees of Inisherin last year. So like, they have her in there, like she's gonna have a significant role, I think, to some degree, right? So I'm curious, actually, her character in general, to watch like what's gonna unfold with her.
Yeah, and I was really interested. They did mention the kids mentioned that they knew something about Alderaan. And like Kim didn't say, "Oh, Alderaan doesn't doesn't exist anymore. Like they didn't know. They weren't like, oh yeah, before Alderaan blew up. Like they didn't know that. Like
right.
They were just mentioning it as planets that they learned about, type of thing. They what is they mentioned Coruscant and Alderaan, I think is what the 2 planets that they dropped. So yeah, both older planets.
Older but significant planets. Yeah.
Right. So just very interesting. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's interesting to learn what kind of like skewered history they're kind of learning as far as
exactly
the past. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's just cool. Like series like this where there's, an ongoing series of mysteries in addition to the kind of straightforward story. It's just cool because it just makes it more
on old events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, it's just cool. I'm excited for every episode coming up for this series in general.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But as we always say, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of episode 3? And you know what? What is the great work? What is this great mystery about at Addon? Let us know your theories in the comments below. And as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.